So first of all, who am I? I've been in the IT industry more than 20 years now. What? You're not that old? Thanks, I appreciate that. I started working on service desks for government departments like Department of Defence, and then also the Government of South Australia, a lot of different service desks there, but then also into private industry like Origin Energy, and then on to Electronic Data Systems, EDS, which then became HP, which then became DXC, which then got sold to someone else, depending on what the day is. I've given that all up and I'm now working for a company called Cyrison. We're System Center experts and everything ITSM and also around System Center Configuration Manager type components. We have our mascot here. He's actually our Director of Culture. His name's IT Monkey. So I've got a couple of those to give away for really good questions. And so I'm looking at people in the back row because this guy flies. He's got rubber arms and gets thrown. So, and when they land, they make amazing noises. So if you're in the front row and you want to ask a question, go right to the back because I want to see how far I can get them. I also run the Adelaide Microsoft IT Pro community, which we're now expanding to be online as well. So we present via Skype every month. So different topics, those sorts of things. So ranging different types of topics that you can join up to. The name of the group will probably change as we change to a more of a global sort of a group as well, so we can start to broadcast around, because I know that different groups find it hard to be able to have consistent sort of presentations as well. All right, so we get into this, taking out the trash. Show of hands, who has users in their Active Directory environment that no longer work for the organisation? Cool. How many people here reckon the payroll department still pays people that no longer work there? Okay, you need to have some serious conversations with your payroll department. Okay, where did they get it so right and we got it so wrong? It's a form, come in, form, leave. They do it, we fail miserably at it, okay? It's something super basic. Where did this all start? So what we're going to do is we're going to start, the agenda here is what a mess that we've got at the moment, why we want to be automating stuff in our day, what we should automate, how we should automate, the tools that we can use. We'll look at a bunch of different, and why we don't, or more commonly, what excuses do we come up with to not automate in there as well. So let me take you back. 1999, all right? Y2K bug. Yeah, did anyone live through the Y2K bug on service desks? Yeah, yep, absolutely fizzled to nothing. SpongeBob and Family Guy made it to our TVs. Bill Gates became the richest man on the planet. And personally, it was a really significant year for me. It was the first year I went to an ITSM conference. Oh, I got married too. But it was also the year that this was released. Yeah? What was significant about this? Active Directory. Yeah? 80 users and computers. Everyone seen this? Yeah? This is from Windows 2000. Do you know what it looks like now? 18 years of progress of going in and going, add, new user, create, making the same damn mistake every single time. Oh, I can't be bothered working out what resources you need. What's someone that's kind of like, he's going to be Fred, fair enough, just copy Fred. And who's got access to what? Very, very dangerous inside our organisations. I can't believe that we're still doing this. So it's time for revolution. It's time to revolt against this and never create another AD user or group or put someone in a group anywhere. This was the only part of this slide, but the other day, everyone saw the talk by Greg yesterday morning? Yeah, yesterday morning. Had a great quote in there. I just went, oh, I'm gonna have to use that. Stop solving yesterday's problems and start moving forward to tomorrow. We've been building AD users and computers, creating user accounts for 18 years now. Time to move on. So, first of all, the right approach. When we start to look to automate things like creating users, those sorts of things, Don't jump in with the tool. Don't just jump straight in. Let's pick a tool and let's just start automating stuff. Think about it first. So I always draw this 3-step approach. First of all, think about policy. What is your policy? If you're working with government, if you're working inside an industry that has regulation around it, what are the sorts of things that you have to do legally, whatever, by your culture of your company, whatever that is? Find that out. If you don't have policy around how you create new users, make it. Create it, something, anything. Get that policy down pat, make sure you know what's going on, then make sure you know what that process is. Yeah, what steps actually have to go through to actually make a new user? Who has to approve it? At what level does it come along? Who has to give access to certain areas of your security? When you're adding users to a new distribution list, who has to approve those sorts of things? And then finally, the product. But always make sure that you do that in that order, okay? Nothing worse than going in saying, look, I built this, and then someone goes, oh, hang on a sec, but you've missed this step, or you've missed this step, and then you have to unplug everything, plug it all back in again. So definitely follow this along. So why automate? And what are the sorts of things that we should start to look to automate? So I split it up into a grid like this, based on cost, based on the amount of cost it's going to cost you to actually do that task, the time it's going to take you to do that task, the accuracy of the requirement of that task, and then finally the repetition. How often do you do this? Yeah? So if you pick something like adding applications to a computer, actually installing some software on someone's computer, it's a high cost because there's software involved, and if you get the licensing wrong, those sorts of things could actually cost you quite a lot. It takes time. Take the disk, take the USB stick, go find the thing, go to the machine, remote to the machine, install the piece of software. Can take quite some time. If you screw it up, uninstall, start again. Doesn't really matter. Repetition, you might not do it all that often. So, not something you should target straight off the bat, maybe. Something like adding an existing user to a distribution list. Yeah? Doesn't cost much, doesn't take much time. Accuracy, that's okay, we can just take it out later on. Repetition, we might only do it once a week. Okay, maybe move that one lower down the thing. But the amount of effort it takes, that total area there, it's really, really small. So it might only take us 10 minutes to automate that, and then we never have to worry about it ever again. But then other things like creating a new user account. The accuracy is really important, okay? Tell a story of a customer that I went to, and we were going through this, creating users, and how do we get access to a particular database? And I said, well, there's this particular database that you have access to. Now, I'm not going to mention the company, and I'm not going to mention the type of database, but it's a very important database for the protection of children, okay? So what's the process to get access to this database? Well, and they told me all about it. Oh, it's going to go through this, and then they're going to have a police check, and then a background check, and they're going to do this, da-da-da-da-da-da. We drew it all up, this huge whiteboard of stuff and everything like that. It's like, cool, excellent, not a problem. And how do you know what's the process for when they leave? And they just went white. Oh, hadn't thought about that. And they went and had a look, and there were people on that database that no longer work in that environment anymore. Very, very important data that we should not allow people to have access to. And because there was no automated process involved to be able to pick up that stuff, it just fell through the wayside. Again, repetition time takes a big effort, but it's also a big cost that's involved with it as well. So what are some of the other things that we can look at? How do you find what it is that we can automate inside your organization? Find your top 10. Go into your ITSM tool of choice, whatever it is, grab that top 10, okay? Here's some examples. Number 1, password reset, yeah? It's a fairly common one that everyone has. Printers down, Adobe Reader, I don't know. Just some examples, okay? Now, I hear you all going, but hang on a sec. You can't automate the printer is down. You can't automate replacing a toner cartridge. Not yet, but it's on its way. So no, you've got to pick out just those ones that you can actually automate. Really focus on them. work out what you need to, and then all of a sudden your top 10 starts looking like this. Yeah? Much, much nicer to get down to a top 10 that actually looks like a top 4. We're talking about things like communication and empathy and all of that over the last few days. Imagine being able to get to it. Who here has a time limit on their calls that if you can't solve on the service desk, if you can't solve a problem within the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, log it and pass it on? Does anyone have that time limit? Yeah, a couple there. Imagine being able to get rid of that time limit, or imagine being able to extend that time limit out and actually spend the time with customers explaining how things work, taking them through training. They need to know how Excel works just that little bit better, just to get them that understanding. And all of a sudden you're driving down the number of calls that are coming through your service desk. So by doing that, you actually get that time back to be able to spend the time with customers. Now, this is a real example, okay? This is a customer that I dealt with, and we went into their service manager tool and we printed this out, and this is exactly what came out of it. Okay, so group membership was their biggest one. So the ability to be able to someone to request, hey, I want access to this group, or I want access to this particular area, the process get followed through, and no one having to touch that process, and it will be accurately followed up very, very easily. So they were able to, the top 4, just rule a line underneath those, all of that impact gone out of their day-to-day work. So they can get on with more important things in their day. So give me an example of what that would actually look like. How would you actually go about mapping out these processes? Well, what about software requests? You know, how many people get the phone call of, I want Visio? I don't know, what is it about Visio? I hate Visio, but everyone wants it. Anyway, so if we do that, so normally what we do is we get on a whiteboard and we go, okay, we'll start this whole thing here, the software request form of some description, some way that the customer is actually requesting that from us. And then is there approval needed? If it's Visio, you know what, it's $400,000, $600,000, $1,000 a license, depending on which one you get. You know what, I want approval on that one. But someone wants VLC Media Player or Paint.net or something like that, yeah, it's free, have it, okay? So I don't want to worry about those. But if there is approval needed, is a purchase needed? Do we own a license for this? Yes or no? This is someone normally then has to go around, find the asset management spreadsheet, yeah? I'm seeing lots of you. The asset management spreadsheet. And you go and ask so-and-so for that. Oh, well, hang on a sec. So-and-so was updating it. You better go and talk to them first. So just in case it's been up to date. Oh, no, I saved it on my local machine. It hasn't synced back. Hear it all the time. So do we need to find that? And then finally, who's the correct approvers to actually either purchase a new piece of software or use an existing license that we've got? Is that approved or rejected? If it's rejected, we stop it. If it's approved, so we come back to that approval. If it has been approved, we send it off to Config Manager or whatever we deploy our software by, or hand it off to a desktop support technician to actually go and install this software, and then we're good as well. But if there's no approval needed, don't bother anybody. Just come back to that. Hey, you need VLC Media Player, send it off, job done, closed. The customers come in, requested it, got what they needed and left. Great experience from their perspective, and from our perspective, haven't touched it. Now we can get on with more important things that we need to. So, all well and good to draw it up on a whiteboard, but what options do I have to actually do this automation? Now, the robotic processing automation that was in the other day, so that's an option. That's one of the options that is out there. It was presented on yesterday. The one that I use and deal with, because it's Microsoft System Center, is System Center Orchestrator. Now, depending on your enterprise agreement with Microsoft, you may already own this. Okay? It's already there in your agreement. Have a look. The other one is PowerShell. Yeah? If you've got spare training budget at the moment to teach your technical people anything, teach them PowerShell. Everything is in PowerShell. a lot of the new tools, the administration tools from Microsoft at the moment will come to you. You'll run through them, click OK and everything like that, and hit a button, and it will actually give you the PowerShell in the background of what that GUI is actually running. All right, so all the GUIs that we see for things like Exchange now are actually just running PowerShell in the background. Great thing to be able to learn. To then be able to take PowerShell and really make it a cool automation thing, use something like server management automation, which came in System Center Orchestrator 2012 R2, or Azure automation. If you're making your journey to the cloud and Azure, have a look at Azure automation and how to be able to click into those places. Some really, really cool stuff. But there's plenty of tools out there, okay? I'm a Microsoft guy, so I've put Microsoft products up there, but you know, the robot process automation that was talked about the other day, there's other tools out there to be able to do this sort of stuff. It's not Microsoft-centric. For those that haven't seen Orchestrator, this is what it looks like, okay? I like Orchestrator because it looks like that. It looks like Visio. Again, we're back to Visio. I don't know what it is about Visio. I can see at a glance what is happening with that process. I can see how that process flows through. I can explain it to someone very, very easily. If I give someone a big slab of PowerShell code, they need to know PowerShell. Okay, so you can really make this transition between the two. You can inject PowerShell code into here. You're not limited to just what you're given by it. But I think it's a great way to start because visually it's very, very easy to get started to move from that whiteboard into here. So how to get users, how to get that information in, okay? Who still has a paper form for creating new users? Lots of, no, yeah, okay. Not, normally that's about 60% of the audience. Still got that. That's great if you've got an automated one. If you do have an actual electronic form now, hey, just hitchhike off the back of that. Here's an example of a catalog that we built for a customer of a whole bunch of different things that's a part of it. Microsoft's internal one that they have for their catalog is about 160 different service offerings that they have for users to be able to interact with and actually select from. Anything from provisioning databases through to, but again, it doesn't have to be around IT. Think outside of IT as well. I want to request that toilet number 3 is blocked again. It's a request that you could put in, doesn't have to be about IT. But people still have to use it, okay? No matter how good your service catalog actually looks, no matter what you actually build for somebody, what are the chances of them actually starting to use a catalog inside your environment? I'm going to leave that cliche well enough alone. Again, thanks to Greg Sanker the other day, digital transformation is transforming a business model's shift of power to the customer. Putting that service catalog into the hands of the customer to actually use the services that they need, when they want it, and how they want to be able to consume it. And the time for IT as a service is actually now. If you tried to implement a service catalog 8-10 years ago, you would get a lot of pushback. No, I want to be able to pick up a phone and actually talk to somebody. Now, I don't want to talk to anybody. My son's got a great t-shirt that says, "You've read my t-shirt, that's enough social interaction for one day." Yeah, our customers are doing that. But here's some e-commerce stats from Australian Post. In 2013 in Australia, they did $26 billion worth of transactions of business for online purchasing via eBay and those sorts of things. By 2017, it's now $32 billion. Everybody has a mobile phone in their pocket. Probably not one of those, but I'm just showing my age now. Everybody consumes data by apps. My wife will go to great pains not to speak to somebody. If I can't email them, if I can't go through an app, that company doesn't exist to me. My 70-year-old father, who is not a digital native by any stretch of the imagination, buys everything on eBay. And I don't mean that everything he wants on eBay, he literally goes on eBay and just buys everything. I'm going to inherit the whole bloody thing. 19.4 million mobile phones in Australia at the moment, all with those apps, all with people interacting with it. So if you build a service catalog internally inside your organization right now, people are used to it, people expect it, people want to interact with it. That's how they want to receive their information. So where do I start? Well, again, I'm going to go with cliches. Pick the easiest thing, yeah? Find it, just do it. Grab something, find one task, automate it. Then the next one, and then the next one. You will be surprised how much of a snowball effect that actually has. We had a customer that the Royal Holloway University in London, and they decided to get on this track. And what they said was, okay, for the next 4 months, if you get a request over the service desk and it's not automated, you're not allowed to do it until you've automated it. Okay? Their response times went out the window. But they let the customers know, hey, we're trying to build this whole thing out, so for the next 3 or 4 months, things are going to be crazy. So they get a new user request and it took them 3 or 4 days instead of 3 or 4 hours to be able to put together. But after that, it was now 3 or 4 minutes from I need a new user to that user account being processed and appeared. And they never had to do it again. Now we've done a webinar on with these guys, and they actually take you through the whole step of how they actually did it and how they achieved that. And how successful it really was. So I encourage you to look at it. I'll send you the link there at the end. But find other ideas as well. Go to other departments. See if the facilities department needs this kind of technology. The HR department. Who else out there has these forms that can be processed inside your service catalog? Great pictures, fantastic. Actually, give me some examples. So this is an example here of the Australian Rail Track Company that we did this for, and this was for corporate application request. It was about a 3-page form that someone actually filled in manually. We automated it, brought it the whole thing through. It took us 3 days to automate the whole thing, who had to get approval, what groups they were put in, those sorts of things. In 1 quarter, in 3 months, they processed 265 applications. They took about 45 minutes each to manually do. That's 11,925 minutes, saved in 1 quarter at $45 a head per person. It cost them $1,000 and they saved $7,000, just over $7,000 in 3 months. Yeah, that's an annual saving of $25,000 for one process. Last time I checked, they had 110 automated processes now going in the background. Some other ideas, onboarding new users, offboarding users, spoken about that, creating new email accounts, new identity or access cards, you know, keys to actually get into a process, swipe cards, those sorts of things. Stationery, reporting, excuses for why not to automate. This is what I hear all the time. We're too busy. Isn't that the point? Isn't this why we should automate? Yeah, but it's only a short task. Yeah, death by 1,000 cuts. We do this over and over and over and over and over. We get bored. We start making mistakes. I don't want my staff to lose their skills. If you don't create a new user and 80 users in computers for the next 10 years, and then I all of a sudden ask you to create a new user and 80 users in computers, do you think you're going to forget? No, that's not what they're saying. What they're really saying is, I don't want to automate myself out of a job. Yeah? If I took all the mundane garbage tasks off of your desk every day, would you have nothing to do? No, because we keep getting asked to do more with less. This is how you do more with less. You do all the garbage tasks easy, and then you get on to actually doing what you're paid for as experts. Who wants to have a look at the Windows 10 standard operating environment setup, but we've never got the time or the resources to actually get there and roll out Windows 10 properly, or monitoring of critical systems in our environment? So this is why we want to be able to do those. So I wanted to give you an actionable roadmap to actually start to use. Grab hold of this and go forward. Okay, it's really complex. First of all, pick something to automate, and then automate it. Do it. There's absolutely no reason, there's nothing stopping you going ahead and getting this done. Okay, you probably already own the tools inside your environment. It's just the will to be able to do it. Okay, doesn't have to revolutionize the world. You don't have to automate every single thing inside your organization. Just pick one, do it, pick the next one. Okay, just don't overthink it. So that's about it, I think. Here's some resources that I said. That's the Royal Holloway case study that I talked to you about. It's about an hour's long. We do a whole bunch of other webinars on different ITSM topics wherever we can, and a whole bunch of different success stories there that are a part of it. So I'll let you take photos of all of that if you want to. Either that or you can hit me up on Twitter, at Brett Moff is the one there. And there's all the rest of my information. So anyone that does have a question, yes, right at the back, just because I want to be able to fling a monkey back that far.
We're in the process of doing some of stuff.
I kicked the bucket.
Getting the processes right first so we can look at how to automate that to make it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
One we're really struggling with is software as a service and web apps for offboarding, because a lot of them don't touch AD. So it's very difficult.
A lot of the web apps don't touch AD, such as Office 365, those sorts of things?
Just like a lot of third parties sort of.
Yeah, so definitely, I think that's a great question. So you ready? Got a duck. Oh, look at that, cleared everyone. Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of web apps that you have out there have APIs that are associated with it, okay? Things like Orchestrator have what are called SOAP requests that you can actually push information in and request that information back from those as a service type providers. So there is no software as a service providers that I'm aware of that don't run an API of some description that you can push into, hook that information, bring it back out, and even push information back into if you need to. It's just a case of being able to find those. Lots of ITSM solutions, if you do have ITSM solutions that are as a service, jump on YouTube and do whatever your product is, API. And you'll find people that have done videos and videos and videos on to be able to take those requests and then pull that information out to do other stuff with it. Does that answer your question? So there's one down here as well. Yeah. Oh, you really want one of the monkeys? That one screamed. All right, cool. You can't turn them off, by the way. There's no off button, so they're just continually to scream.
Earlier in your piece, you had a slide up around, I think it was an example with a whole list of different things that people had done.
Yes?
And you flicked over it really quickly.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
I'll go back.
And also probably just a bit of a note, we've just automated our leaders process. And one of the things that we found was that there was actually quite a lot of cultural and people stuff that we had to work through with the service desk team. We had a few people that were quite resistant to it. So that's just something to consider if you are doing things like that, really including a lot in the process to make sure that they understand why we're doing it and I guess, that they get benefits.
Why automate stuff off the service desk? And the most successful one is to actually include the service desk in actually doing it. They're the ones that suffer this on a day-to-day basis, and to be able to give them the time to be able to go away and do that really empowers them in there and to learn as well. Yeah. Last one.
We've been sort of approaching this, but the issue that is sort of started by saying to the service desk, what are your job now to make your role extinct?
Mm-hmm.
Then we get like how do you separate what is encouraging them to take on the more complex as opposed to the simple ones? Because a lot of people in the past used to cherry pick, and it's that whole thing of we're away from saying, I'm coming to the get to explain quality. How have you actually dealt with that?
How do you actually deal with having just people just cherry picking the simple tasks compared to the more complex tasks? Let them do the simple tasks, and then they run out. That is the easiest way to be able to do that. in my experience with all the companies that we've dealt with as far as automation and service requests are concerned, service catalogs, very, very few, and I'm talking less than 5%, actually then go ahead and reduce staff on the service desk, okay? What they do is move people from service desk over to desktop support or application support. Okay, now you can go application packaging. Who needs more time patch management? Like, it's a constant thing. Well, okay, how about we take you off the service desk and put you on patch management? Organizations hate bringing in new people. I need more people in IT. We hear that all the time. I need more people in my team. And the department saying, no, or your company saying, no, you can't have any more staff. Well, how about we just reallocate those staff because we don't need them doing the medial tasks. Now that I see all the time. Now I'm going to see if I can get another IT monkey out there. Ready? Oh, it's short. Oh. Yeah.
From your experience with resistance, has it come mostly from individuals or from the business itself?
It's a really good question. It's a combination of both. First of all, management giving you time to be able to do it, for management to have the foresight that, hey, this is actually going to be a good thing for the business. So I have seen some pushback in that way, but also people going, oh, geez, you're going to put me out of a job, blah, blah, blah. Reassuring them that, and it has got to be a whole holistic approach between management, the upper management, middle management, and the people actually doing the job on a day-to-day basis. Getting everyone on board and pushing forward for a better future is exactly what it's after. So if you try and do it in isolation, yeah, people are going to think that they're off in that room doing some stuff, trying to get rid of my job, and you'll get a lot more pushback with that. But actually enabling the people that are on the front line, that job that you absolutely hate doing, yep, cool. Go offline for the next 6 hours and nail it so you don't ever have to do it again. If you've got really good service desk staff, they should relish that opportunity to have a go at getting rid of the garbage off their plate. And if you do have that 10-minute window on the service desk because, and they have to log things and just move it on, they feel like they're in a call center, you'll get a really high turnover of your staff. Whereas if you can get them to really value that first point of contact, that first resolution numbers, those numbers will start to really go up because you'll actually be able to spend the time with the end user to actually resolve it there at first contact.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank Brett very much. Thank you for your presentation.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.